Did you know your car is literally talking to you right now? Every tap, hiss, and grind is a message. And most drivers just turn up the radio instead of listening. Here's the kicker. That tapping sound from under your hood could mean your engine oil is dangerously low, and ignoring it for just a few more miles can turn a cheap fix into a full engine swap. So today, we're going on a virtual test drive through every weird noise your car makes. And I'll tell you exactly which ones mean pull over right now. Picture this. You're cruising down the highway and you start hearing this sound, rhythmic and metallic, like someone tossed a quarter into a clothes dryer and just let it go. Most people hear that and think, yeah, it'll probably stop on its own, right? It doesn't stop on its own. That sound is almost always a loose lug nut rattling around inside your wheel cover or hubcap. And what it's telling you is that one of your wheels isn't fully bolted to your car. Not sort of bolted, not almost bolted, not fully secured. And the car still steers fine, still feels normal. So your brain just files it under probably nothing and you keep driving. Here's the kicker though. A wheel that's working itself loose doesn't give you a lot of warning before it actually separates. And a wheel coming off at 60 miles per hour is not a fender bender situation. That's a serious accident. So pull over, check the lug nuts on that wheel, and if one is loose, check all of them. A torque wrench will tell you if they're properly tightened, but even hand tight is better than what you've got right now. From there, let's move inward toward the engine, because the sounds genuinely get more expensive the closer you get to that engine block. Right up front, if you're hearing a high-pitched squeal when you press the brakes, that's your brake pads. Specifically, it's a little metal tab built right into the pad called a wear indicator, and its entire job is to scrape against the rotor and make that screaming noise when the friction material gets too thin. So that squeal is actually the system doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's not a fluke. It's a deliberate warning. Now, cold weather adds another layer to all of this. When temperatures drop overnight, it puts real stress on your cooling system, and small cracks in hoses or the radiator that were manageable in warmer weather can open up just enough to start leaking. So if you park the car after a drive and you hear a soft hissing sound near the front of the hood, don't just assume it's normal heat dissipating. It could be coolant escaping through a crack. And if that hissing is happening while you're driving and your temperature gauge is climbing, that's a different level of urgent. A leaking radiator or a blown coolant hose means your engine is heading toward overheating, and if you let it get there, you're looking at a warped cylinder head. That repair runs anywhere from $1,500 to $4,000 depending on the engine. So this is very much a pullover and call a tow truck situation, not a limp it-home situation. There's one more sound in this range worth knowing. A thin, airy whistle coming from the engine bay, kind of like blowing across the mouth of a bottle. That usually means a vacuum leak, where outside air is getting into the intake system somewhere it shouldn't be. The engine needs a precise air-to-fuel mixture to run right, and when random air sneaks in, fuel economy drops, the idle gets rough, and the engine management system starts throwing fits trying to compensate. So squealing up front means your brakes need pads, hissing means coolant is going somewhere it shouldn't, and that metallic rattle at the wheels means you need to stop and check your lug nuts before things get genuinely dangerous. Now we're getting into the sounds that mechanics actually lose sleep over, because this is where people make the most expensive mistakes. A ticking or tapping from under the hood, especially when the engine is cold, is your oil system struggling. What's happening is the oil pressure isn't building fast enough to reach the top of the engine, so the valve train and cam followers are running with metal-on-metal contact for those first few seconds or minutes. Oil is the only thing standing between every moving part in your engine and complete destruction. So when there isn't enough of it, or it isn't getting where it needs to go fast enough, parts start wearing down immediately. Here's the kicker. That tapping feels minor. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, and the car still drives fine, so people just live with it for weeks. But the whole time, those upper engine components are wearing faster than they should, and the damage stacks up quietly. You won't believe how fast a small oil issue turns into a major repair just because it didn't feel urgent enough to deal with. So the first thing you do when you hear tapping from the engine is pull over somewhere safe, let the engine cool for a few minutes, and check the oil dipstick. If it's low, add oil. That fix costs maybe $5. But if you keep driving on it for another few hundred miles, you're looking at scored cylinder walls or a spun bearing, and at that point you're talking about a full engine rebuild or a replacement engine, which can run $4,000 to $6,000 depending on the car. Now here's where it gets worse. If that tapping sound changes, if it drops lower in pitch and gets heavier and more rhythmic, like someone knocking on the engine block from the inside with a rubber mallet, that is rod knock, and it is a completely different situation. Rod knock means a connecting rod bearing has already failed. The bearing material that sits between the connecting rod and the crankshaft has worn away, so now it's bare metal slamming against bare metal on every single rotation of the engine. Every second you keep the engine running after that point is doing more damage. Did you know that the knock actually gets faster when you rev the engine? That's because it's tied directly to crankshaft rotation speed, and that's exactly how you tell rod knock apart from other engine noises. If the knock speeds up as the RPMs climb, pull over immediately and shut the engine off. Don't drive it home. Don't drive it to the shop. Call a tow truck, because at that stage you might still have a $1,200 bearing repair, but driving it further turns that into a $5,000 engine swap. The transmission can do something similar too. When transmission fluid breaks down, you start hearing a grinding or whining sound during gear changes, and that means the synchronizers or clutch packs inside the gearbox are already getting chewed up. Transmission rebuilds are expensive, often hitting $3,000 or more, so grinding during shifts is another one you don't want to sit on. The cost difference between catching these sounds early and ignoring them is genuinely brutal. Tapping that gets fixed today with a $5 bottle of oil is the same problem that becomes an engine replacement if you let it go another month. Your car has been running you through this sound map the whole time you've owned it. Rattle at the wheels, hiss at the radiator, tap at the valve train, knock deep in the block. Each one is a fork in the road between a cheap fix and a bill that hurts.